Welcome to Heart of the Guardians, the channel where stories of courage, fate, and the wild heart of the frontier come alive. Today's story takes us deep into the untamed lands of the Wild West, where dust and destiny walk hand in hand. It's a tale of a cowboy, a lost Apache girl, and a mystery that would change the lives of everyone it touched forever. So saddle up, and listen close, because what you're about to hear isn't just another Western story. It's a legend of love, loss, and redemption. The sun had already begun to sink behind the scarred mesas of Arizona Territory when Cowboy Luke Tanner rode down from the ridge. He was a tall man with eyes like storm clouds, carrying more silence than words, and more scars than stories he ever told. His horse, Dusty, trotted slow and sure through the dying light. The air smelled of sage and old gunpowder, the scent of a land that had seen too many men come and go, too many promises made and broken. Luke had been tracking a stray calf from a nearby ranch, but something strange had caught his eye, faint footprints in the red dirt, too small to be a man's. The tracks weaved through mesquite bushes, across a dry creek bed, and into a narrow canyon that swallowed the sun whole. He dismounted, tied Dusty to a rock, and drew his rifle. The canyon was quiet, but not dead. He could hear something, a sound like quiet sobbing. He moved closer, his boots whispering against the sand. And then he saw her. A small figure crouched by the wall of the canyon, a girl, no older than 10 or 11, her long dark hair tangled, her clothes torn, her bare feet bleeding from the rocks. She looked up with wide, frightened eyes, ready to run like a wild thing. But Luke raised a hand slowly. "Easy now," he said gently. "Ain't here to hurt ya." She didn't speak. Her lips trembled, her breath fast and sharp. He noticed the streaks of paint faintly on her cheeks, Apache markings. "Name's Luke," he said, kneeling down. "You lost, sweetheart." Still nothing. Only fear. Then, faintly, a word slipped out from her cracked lips, "Mother." Luke's heart clenched. The girl was trembling from cold and hunger. Without thinking, he pulled off his coat and wrapped it around her shoulders. She flinched at first, but then, as if too tired to resist, she let him. That night, Luke built a fire near the canyon wall. The girl huddled close, half asleep, half scared to close her eyes. He gave her water and a bit of jerky, which she chewed slowly like she hadn't eaten in days. "Where you from?" he asked softly, but she said nothing. She just stared into the flames. When the stars rose, she finally spoke, her voice quiet, broken, and full of something that made Luke's chest ache. "My mother," she sang to me. "Then men came. Horses. Guns." Luke's jaw tightened. "Raiders, maybe. Or bounty hunters." The borderlands had no shortage of devils. He promised himself one thing, he'd find out who she belonged to, and he'd get her home. By dawn, they were back on the trail. The girl rode in front of him on the saddle, clinging to his shirt. Each mile, she seemed to trust him a little more. When he asked her name again, she whispered it, "Taya." Over the next days, Luke learned fragments. She spoke of a river valley, a small Apache camp, her mother's songs in the night. It wasn't much to go on, but Luke knew those lands. He'd ridden with scouts, traded with tribes, even bled beside some during the wars. When they reached the small settlement of Red Hollow, Luke stopped at the general store to ask around. The old shopkeeper squinted at the girl. "You say she's Apache. Strange thing, couple weeks back, a widow came through town. Pretty lady, quiet type. Said her daughter was taken. Offered a reward for anyone who could bring her back." Luke's eyes lifted. "Where'd she go?" "Down near Sweetwater Canyon. Got a little homestead by the river. Name's Maria. Maria Dalton." Maria Dalton. Luke knew the name. Her husband had been a prospector, good man, folks said, until bandits took his life. She'd stayed on the land alone, raising her daughter. Luke's heart thudded. Could this be her child? He didn't tell Taya yet. He didn't want to give false hope. But he felt something stirring deep in his chest, something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. They rode hard for Sweetwater Canyon. The land grew softer there, cottonwoods by the river, wildflowers pushing through the dust. The homestead appeared near sunset, a small cabin with smoke curling from the chimney. Luke slowed his horse. The girl's eyes widened. She whispered, "This place, it feels like a dream." A woman stepped out of the cabin, dark hair pulled back, face pale and tired but still beautiful in a way that time couldn't touch. When she saw the girl, the world seemed to stop. Her hands flew to her mouth. Tears welled instantly. Taya. The girl leapt from the horse before Luke could move. She ran across the field barefoot, crying out a single word, "Mama." Maria dropped to her knees, catching her daughter in her arms, holding her so tight it was as if she feared the wind would steal her away again. Luke looked away, blinking hard. He wasn't a man used to tears, but something about that reunion cut deep. Maria looked up through her tears. "Who are you?" "Just a man who found what was lost," Luke said quietly. She stood, still holding her daughter. "Please, come inside. You must be tired." The cabin was small but warm. Maria brewed coffee while Taya clung to her side, never letting go. Luke told the story, how he'd found the girl alone, half-starved, wandering the canyon. Maria listened, her eyes dark with sorrow. "They came at dawn," she said softly. "Men with guns. I was outside, hanging laundry. They took her. I tried to fight, but they hit me. When I woke, she was gone. I thought she was dead." Her hand trembled as she stroked her daughter's hair. "You brought her back to me. I can never repay you." Luke smiled faintly. "Don't need paying, ma'am. Just glad she's safe." But even as he spoke, something felt unfinished. The men who'd taken Taya, they were still out there. And Luke Tanner wasn't the kind to leave a story half done. That night, after Taya fell asleep, Maria sat across from Luke by the fire. The light flickered across her face, soft and tired. "You risked your life for a stranger's child," she said quietly. "Why?" Luke hesitated. "Because once, I lost someone too. My sister. Raiders took her when I was a boy. Never saw her again. Guess I couldn't let it happen twice." Maria looked at him for a long time, eyes shimmering. "You're a good man, Mr. Tanner." He gave a crooked smile. "Some days." For the first time in years, Luke felt something shift inside him, a warmth he thought the desert had burned out long ago. But peace in the frontier never lasted long. 2 days later, Luke spotted riders in the distance, 3 of them, moving fast along the ridge. He recognized the mark on their saddles, black vultures painted on the flank. The Vulture Gang, the same men who'd raided camps, stolen children for ransom, and sold them to the border traders. Luke's jaw set. He loaded his rifle. "They're coming," he said. Maria froze. "The same men. Reckon so." He turned to her. "Get Taya inside. Don't open that door unless I say." Maria did as told, clutching her daughter tight. Luke stepped out onto the porch, the weight of his rifle steady in his hands. The riders came fast, dust rising behind them. Their leader, a scarred man with a red bandana, grinned wide. Well, the cowboy hero. Heard you found our little prize." Luke said nothing. "You hand over the girl," the man sneered, "and maybe we'll let you live." Luke's eyes narrowed. "You got one chance to ride away." The man laughed, a sound like rattlesnakes in dry grass. "Kill him." The air exploded with gunfire. Luke dove behind a trough, returning fire quick and deadly. The crack of his Winchester echoed off the canyon walls. One rider fell, then another. The third tried to flank him, but Luke was faster. When the smoke cleared, the ground was still. Luke stood, chest heaving. His arm bled where a bullet had grazed him. Maria ran out, face pale. "Luke, I'm fine," he said, but his voice was hoarse. She helped him inside, cleaned the wound with trembling hands. "You saved us again," she whispered. He looked at her, the warmth of her touch, the gratitude in her eyes, and for the first time, the endless loneliness of his life seemed to fade. Days passed. The land grew quiet again. Luke helped repair the fence, fetched water, mended saddles. Taya followed him everywhere, chattering in broken English and Apache, laughing again for the first time since he'd found her. Maria watched from the porch, her heart full but uncertain. She had lost everything once before, and she feared hope most of all. One evening, as the sun melted into gold across the river, she walked to where Luke sat sharpening his knife. "You could leave now," she said softly. "You've done more than enough." Luke looked at her. "Could. But I reckon there's more to life than just riding away." She smiled faintly. "You mean to stay?" He nodded once. "If you'll have me around. There's work to be done. Fences don't mend themselves." Maria's voice broke just a little. "We'd be lucky to have you." And just like that, something unspoken passed between them, not a promise, not yet, but something stronger than words. As the stars rose, Taya sat between them, her head on her mother's lap, humming the old Apache lullaby her mother once sang before the night of fear. Luke listened, his hand resting on his knee, the firelight flickering in his eyes. Out there in the vast silence of the West, a new kind of peace settled over them, fragile, tender, but real. The cowboy had found a lost girl. But in truth, it was he who had been lost, and she, and her mother, had brought him home. And in that wild, lonely land of dust and fire, three souls found the one thing the frontier could never take: family. Because sometimes, in the heart of the wilderness, you don't just find what's missing. You find yourself. This has been Heart of the Guardians, where stories of love, faith, and redemption live on beneath the endless western sky. If you felt this story in your heart, share it. Somewhere out there, someone might just need the reminder that even in the wildest places, miracles still ride with the wind.